Hello to everyone in the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral community and all of our friends. This is Father Jonathan. I hope you're doing well. I want to continue our reflections daily on the Book of Psalms as we're doing right now. And I've spoken a little bit about the Book of Psalms as a whole. It's the Christian prayer book. It's the prayer book of the Church. It gives voice and language to the human experience of suffering and pain and fear and anxiety. But also, and more importantly, it speaks to the capacity that we have as human beings to call upon God, and that God hears our prayers, hears the voices of our supplication when we cry out to Him. And so I want to continue this conversation about the Book of Psalms to really solidify our understanding of the Psalms and how they can help us in times like these. Now, I wanted to go back for today's reflection all the way to the beginning of the Book of Psalms, the beginning of the Psalter. I spoke about some of the other Psalms later on, even to the very last Psalm. And I wanted to talk about the first Psalm because it really gives shape to the whole book. It teaches us what it is that we're striving for when we live our life of faith, the very thing that we as Christians are crying out when we pray these prayers, these songs. And so, without any further ado, I will read Psalm 1, and then from there speak a little bit about how it can offer us strength and encouragement and set us on a trajectory that we can start even here and now when we are distanced from one another physically, but hopefully with great love for each other, even at that distance. So let us begin. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the ways of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the troublesome. But his will is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by a stream of water, that produces its fruit in its season, and his leaf shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. Not so are the ungodly, not so, but they are like the dust the wind drives from the face of the earth. Therefore the ungodly shall not rise in judgment, nor sinners in the counsel of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. We find ourselves in a time of anxiety, uncertainty, fear about our financial well-being, our physical well-being. We're concerned about our health, the health of those we love. We also might be feeling a little stir crazy, being distanced from one another for such a long period of time. Certainly, I imagine that we're feeling that those things that we took for granted, connection, physical contact, even going to work, thing that we might have complained about before. All of those things we were taking for granted, and now we don't have them and we grieve them. And so, what is this psalm trying to tell us about how we're supposed to act in these times of uncertainty? Well, it really talks about how we are supposed to be, really in imitation of Christ, if we take this to be a prophecy of Christ, as the Church has always done. But it says, blessed is the man, the human being, the person, who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. What does it mean to not walk in the counsel of the ungodly? Well, our God is love. Love is relationality. Love is communion, unity, togetherness. So to walk in the counsel of the ungodly is to listen to the counsel, the instructions, the teachings that lead to isolation, individualization, separation, division, divisiveness, all of those things. This ought not to be a time when we become ungodly people, unloving, unkind, distant. Even though we are distant, we are called to be blessed. And by blessed, we mean holy, connected, loving, in communion with God and one another. And nothing about our present situation prevents us from doing that. if we really understand love to be what it is. Blessedness, a loving persona, allows us to transcend time and space. Our love can transcend time and space. The love I send forth to all of those I care for is received immediately by them, even before I've sent it out. But we're also not supposed to stand in the way of the sinner. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that we're supposed to not stand in the way of people that break rules or break the law. No, to be a sinner, to sin, is to fall short of our call to love God and love our neighbor. Therefore, to stand in the way of the sinner is to, again, not be loving in the midst of this. And finally, we're not to sit in the seats of the troublesome. We're not supposed to cause trouble, to cause division, to be divisive in all of this. Even Christ in the Sermon on the Mount said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Blessed, as we're called to be at the beginning of the song. Blessed is the man, blessed is the person. Blessed is the person who is a peacemaker and not sitting with the troublesome, who cause division and divisiveness, who nitpick and defame other people and say negative things and cause strife. No, we're called to be blessed, to be loving, to be generous, to be kind, to pray for one another, to reach out to one another, to call one another. If we're able to get out and serve one another. And to serve one another also by staying in, if that's what we're called to do. Because that's how we can show love. And so staying in and being here and working on our spiritual lives through prayer and fasting and being generous with our time in whatever way we're able to, even at a distance, will help us cultivate a blessed life, to reap good fruit of virtue, which is the sign that we are in communion with God. And therefore striving and attaining unto what we are called to be. Blessed persons in God's image and likeness. Persons in whom the love of God dwells and flows forth from to those who need it. Yes, it's scary. Yes, we feel alone. Yes, we are uncertain about when all this is going to end. But in the midst of this, there's love. Love that transcends time and space. Love that transforms a world that has been so divisive, especially in the last few years. And yet we're in this moment of being distant from one another physically. Perhaps we can dismantle the divisions that have divided us, separated us, kept us from loving one another authentically. So that when we return to normal, when we get back to a state of regular daily life without these restrictions on our movement, perhaps we will be transformed along with it. We will be love to a greater degree when we encounter those who we've had to love at a distance. Speaking of love, we love you very much. We're here for you. We're praying for you. Anything at all that you need, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Call the office, call our cell phones, email us, whatever you need. We are here for you 24/7. Remember to also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can extend the reach of our streaming capabilities for services. We're working on the best way to make sure we can get live services to everyone who wants them. Thank you so much. God bless you. We're here for you. Again, don't hesitate to reach out.